It's late. The house is quiet in a way that only happens after midnight. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel empty, just settled. The refrigerator hums. There's a faint ticking somewhere in the walls. A single lamp is on in the corner of the room, casting a soft circle of light over the desk. I've always liked this hour. It doesn't demand anything from me. During the day, everything is acceleration. Decisions stack on top of decisions. Problems multiply. People look at me like I'm supposed to know the answer before the question is fully formed. There's a velocity to it, a constant forward lean, but at night the momentum fades. And that's when you come back to me. Not in some dramatic rush. Not in a way that knocks the air out of my lungs. It's quieter than that. It's in the way I reach for my phone and realize there's no one to text about something small. It's in the instinct to turn and say, "You wouldn't believe what happened today," and then remembering I don't have that audience anymore. I told myself I could compartmentalize it. I've done that with everything else in my life. When something doesn't work, you analyze it. You deconstruct it. You identify the failure points. You adjust the system. You move on. It seemed logical. We weren't aligned anymore. Or maybe we were, but in different languages. There were misunderstandings I couldn't solve with logic, emotions that didn't respond to data, silences that grew longer and heavier until they felt structural. I thought walking away was a responsible choice, measured, mature. I told myself it was strength. For a while, it even felt clean. There's a strange clarity that comes with ending something. The ambiguity disappears. The tension dissolves into a single definitive act. I threw myself back into work, into motion, into noise. That's what I do best. But the body keeps its own records. Weeks later, I'd be sitting in a meeting, listening to projections and timelines, and something would flicker in my mind. Not a grand memory, not some cinematic highlight, just you standing in the kitchen, half asleep, holding a mug with both hands. Or the way you'd sit on the floor instead of the couch sometimes, leaning back against it like it was more comfortable that way. I'd find myself replaying the most ordinary moments, the ones that didn't seem important at the time. There was a night we spent doing absolutely nothing. You were reading. I was working on something at the table. No music, no television, just the soft turning of pages and the tapping of keys. At some point, I looked up and you were already looking at me. You didn't say anything. You just smiled. Small, private. I didn't understand then how rare that kind of peace is. I built things that move faster than sound. I've sat in rooms where the future feels negotiable. I've seen machines come to life after years of failure. But that moment, the quiet coexistence of two people who don't need to perform for each other, that was its own kind of breakthrough. I didn't label it that way at the time. I assumed it would always be there. That's the mistake, I think. Not arrogance, just assumption. I assumed love, once established, becomes permanent infrastructure. Like gravity, you stop noticing it because it's always pulling. When it was gone, I didn't feel a dramatic collapse. It was subtler. The house sounded different, even when other people were around. The air felt thinner somehow. Conversations were functional, efficient. But they lacked that undercurrent, the shared glance, the unspoken commentary, the inside language. I tried to tell myself it was nostalgia, distorting reality, that the mind edits out friction and keeps the warmth. And there was friction. We weren't perfect. I wasn't easy to love. I disappear into my head, into problems, into obsessions. I can be physically present and mentally light years away. You told me that once. You said, it feels like you're always launching something. At the time, I laughed. I thought it was clever. Now I understand what you meant. I was always in departure mode. Even when I was sitting right beside you, I thought providing stability meant solving external problems, building structures, securing futures. I didn't realize that sometimes stability is just consistency, being reachable, being soft when the day has been hard. After we ended, I started noticing small things about myself, the way I'd instinctively draft messages in my head to you and then delete them before they ever existed, the way certain songs felt intrusive, like they were trespassing on a memory I wasn't ready to examine, the way I kept expecting to run into you in places we used to go, even though I knew the probability was low. It wasn't longing in the dramatic sense. It was more like gravity, a quiet pull. I never wanted to admit that walking away didn't free me the way I thought it would. It simplified things externally, but internally it left in you, unfinished sentence, not because I wanted to undo it, but because I hadn't fully understood it. There were things I only saw clearly after the distance. The way you'd pause before responding when you were hurt, choosing your words carefully. The way you tried to meet me in my intensity without losing yourself. The times you asked for something simple, time, attention, presence. And I treated it like a scheduling conflict instead of a need. I don't sit here drowning in regret. Regret can become self-indulgent. It centers your own guilt instead of the other person's experience. What I feel is different. It's recognition. You loved me in a way that was steady, not loud, not dramatic, just steady. And I think I measured love by resilience, by how much it could withstand, how much pressure it could tolerate without cracking. You were never trying to withstand me. You were trying to be with me. There's a difference. I see that now. Sometimes I imagine what it would have been. And like if I had slowed down, if I had turned off the constant forward thrust and just stayed in the room a little longer, put the phone face down, closed the laptop before it was absolutely necessary, not to fix anything, just to sit with you. But I don't let those thoughts spiral. We made the choices we made with the awareness we had at the time, and there was love there, real love, the kind built out of shared mornings and small rituals, out of grocery lists and half-finished conversations, out of hands brushing in passing. You taught me something I didn't know I needed to learn. That presence is not a byproduct of success. It's its own discipline. It requires attention, intention, stillness. I used to think stillness was stagnation, a loss of momentum. Now I understand it's a form of courage, to stop moving long enough to feel, I don't know where you are tonight. I don't know what your living room looks like now, what kind of lamp you use, whether you still sit on the floor instead of the couch. I hope someone notices that about you. I hope someone looks up from whatever they're doing and sees you already looking at them and smiles back. There's no dramatic ache, as I think that just warmth. You were never meant to be a lesson. You were a person, a whole world of interior weather and quiet strength. And for a while, I had the privilege of standing inside that world. I tried to walk away like it was a simple decision, a clean break, a logical endpoint, but the heart doesn't operate on clean lines. It carries things, not to punish us, just to remind us. I don't want to go back, and I don't want to erase what we had. I want to integrate it, to let the version of me who loved you, imperfectly, sometimes distractedly, but sincerely, inform the version of me who exists now. There's a photograph on the shelf behind me, not of us, just a landscape we once visited. At the time, it felt incidental. Now it feels like proof that we stood somewhere together and breathed the same air. That's enough. The lamp is still on. The house is still quiet. I'm not reaching for my phone. I'm not drafting messages in my head. I'm just sitting here, letting the memory exist without trying to solve it. There's a kind of peace in that, not closure, just understanding. And tonight, that's sufficient.